Welcome to today's Explainer. We are going to be seriously upgrading our writing toolkits today. If you're an English student looking to take your essays and creative writing to the absolute next level, well, you're in the exact right place. Today, we're exploring why brilliant authors carefully select advanced vocabulary instead of just, settling for basic everyday words like dumb or foolish. Okay, let's dive right in and elevate our language.
Here's a quick look at our roadmap for today's lesson. We'll start with Beyond Foolish and Dumb, move into the Lexicon of Folly, explore the nuances of nonsense, look at idioms of ignorance, and wrap up with choosing precise words. All right, jumping right into Section 1, Beyond Foolish and Dumb, the problem with generic words. We're kicking things off by examining a super common trap that younger writers fall into when describing characters or situations. Now, I want you to really mull over this core question as we go along today. Why do authors actively avoid repetitive generic terms like foolish or dumb? The short answer, relying on basic adjectives completely flattens your writing. It strips the color right out of your narrative. Richer, highly precise vocabulary, on the other hand, brings your characters, your dialogue, and your scenarios to vibrant life. It tells the reader exactly what kind of foolishness they're witnessing. Moving to Section 2, the Lexicon of Folly. 5 advanced vocabulary words. Let's see how this builds our vocabulary by looking at 5 specific, highly descriptive words for a lack of good judgment.
First up on our list, fatuous. This is an incredible word, honestly. It describes someone who is saying or doing something completely unwise, but, and here's the kicker, they mistakenly think they're being incredibly clever. When you think of fatuous, think of synonyms like inane, vacuous, mindless, and ludicrous. It isn't just being silly, it's being silly with unearned confidence.
And this brilliantly illustrates the smug aspect of the word. Look at this literary example. The speaker here thinks they are totally charming the room with their little weather observation, but they're actually completely oblivious to the awkward reality. Using fatuous tells us so much more about this character's ego than the word dumb ever could. Next up, we've got inane. When something is inane, it is totally lacking in sense, significance, or ideas. It's completely silly or empty. It's a word strictly synonymous with asinine, vapid, superficial, and senseless. It's basically the kind of foolishness that just wastes your time. See how the author uses inane here? It perfectly captures that frustrating emptiness of the host's interruptions. I mean, during a highly serious debate, asking about a favorite color isn't just a mistake. It's profoundly empty and senseless. It is a completely inane question. Okay, moving to our third word, vacuous. Now, the crucial thing to remember here is its literal root meaning. It quite literally translates to empty. When applied to a person or an expression, it signifies a complete and utter lack of thought, intelligence, or serious purpose. The synonyms map directly to this feeling of emptiness. Think blank, expressionless, brainless, and airheaded. Check out this example, which shows proper usage perfectly in a narrative setting. A vacuous smile isn't just a happy or joyful smile, right? It's a totally blank, thoughtless reaction. It's literally the physical embodiment of the lights being on, but nobody being home.
Word number 4 from the lexicon is asinine, representing a truly extreme level of foolishness. We're talking akin to being idiotic, preposterous, daft, or half-witted. When something is asinine, it goes way beyond a simple mistake. It borders on the absurd.
Now here is a really fun fact about this word's history. Asinine comes straight from the Latin word asinus, which translates directly to, you guessed it, a donkey. So when an author calls a character's behavior asinine, they're explicitly implying that the behavior is as famously stubborn, ridiculous, and silly as a donkey refusing to move.
You can literally feel the sheer stubbornness and absurdity in this literary example. The excuse given by the student is so ridiculously foolish, so stubbornly nonsensical, that the supervisor simply cannot accept it. It is, absolutely, an asinine excuse.
Our fifth and final core word for this section is obtuse, and it's super unique. Unlike someone who just innocently doesn't know a fact, an obtuse person is frustratingly and sometimes deliberately slow to understand. Often described as dull-witted, dense, or imperceptive, an obtuse character fails to comprehend what is glaringly obvious to literally everyone else in the room. This quote right here, it perfectly captures the sheer frustration an author wants to convey.
You can feel the tension in this dialogue. The speaker is totally exasperated, dealing with someone who is refusing to see the plain truth right in front of them. That is the power of the word obtuse.
All right, that brings us to Section 3, the nuances of nonsense, comparing the core lexicon. Now that we have our 5 core words, let's synthesize this information and map out the subtle differences between them. Choosing the right word for your essay or story is entirely about the exact flavor of foolishness you're going for. If your character is acting smug, boom, use fatuous. If they're literally staring blankly, go with vacuous. If their behavior is stubbornly stupid like a mule, asinine is for sure your word. And if they're driving someone crazy by refusing to get the point, obtuse gives you that frustrating, deliberate ignorance. This comparative breakdown right here is basically your cheat sheet for character development.
Let's pivot a bit to Section 4, idioms of ignorance, cultural fluency in phrasing. We're going to expand our toolkits beyond single vocabulary words and look at traditional English expressions that authors use to paint a picture of poor judgment.
These idioms are absolutely fantastic for creative writing because they use such vivid visual imagery. Saying someone is a few sandwiches short of a picnic adds a touch of tasteful humor and cultural flair while describing a lack of common sense. Someone burying their head in the sand, you immediately picture an ostrich ignoring an obvious threat, right? Pennywise and pound foolish perfectly describes a highly specific type of financial stupidity. And not the sharpest tool in the shed is just a beautifully polite, indirect way to comment on someone's intelligence. These phrases add a texture to your writing that standard adjectives simply can't match. And that brings us to our final stop, Section 5, choosing precise words, the writer's choice. We're going to put all of this together to see exactly why an author's precise lexical choice ultimately matters on the page. Let's actually compare these 2 sentences side by side. The generic version, "He gave a dumb excuse and smiled in a foolish way," is flat, it's boring, and it gives us absolutely no real insight into the character's personality. It's totally forgettable. Now, read the precise sentence. "He offered an asinine excuse, flashing a fatuous smile." Wow. Suddenly, the writing paints a vivid, immediate picture. We don't just see a foolish guy. We see a stubbornly ridiculous character who is smugly satisfied with himself despite his obvious failure. That precision transforms the entire scene. So I want to leave you with a challenge for your own critical thinking and writing today. The very next time you sit down to write an essay or draft a story, catch yourself before you write dumb or silly. Ask yourself, is it inane? Is it vacuous? Is it obtuse? Precision is the secret ingredient that turns passable writing into truly unforgettable storytelling. So which word will you use to make your next character entirely unforgettable? Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the lexicon of folly. Keep writing and keep making those powerful choices on the page.